Welcome to Equestrian Fitness for the long ride with the Sweaty Equestrian. I'm personal trainer and endurance rider Tamara Baysinger, and I'm here to help you ride stronger in a day and longer in your life. Hello, welcome back to the podcast. I was thinking of all of you this morning while I was out stacking yet more hay. We're having a low hay year in my area, and so I am getting all my hay for the whole year brought in at once, which means I'm doing a whole lot of hay stacking. And Mr. Sweaty can't help right now because he just had a little minor surgery. No big deal, but we don't want to bust the stitches open. So I'm doing all the stacking of the hay by myself, which is generally, okay. I actually enjoy stacking hay. And I know I'm not alone in that. I know that some of you also enjoy stacking hay, but here's what else I know. I know that one of the most common reasons that riders come to the Sweaty Equestrian for help with their fitness is that they are still doing the usual things, the things that they have done for years, but they feel like they're losing ground. So maybe this is you. Maybe you are still doing the riding that you've always done. You're still doing the stable chores that you have always done. You are still stacking the hay that you have always stacked, but you don't feel and look like you used to. Maybe those long rides or those challenging lessons leave you more fatigued. Or yes, you can still clean all those stalls or turn all that compost or stack all that hay, but you feel weaker or more susceptible to the heat, or you just get more tired from doing those things. Maybe you're putting on body fat. That's a really common one. Maybe you just don't look and feel like you want to, even though you are still doing the same farm work you've always done. So what is up with that? What do you do when the farm chores aren't working anymore? Now, I want to be clear, the farm work and the riding are really, really good for us. We as equestrians do tend to get out there and get moving more than the average person in modern life. And that general movement is great. It gets us outdoors. It gets us a certain amount of sun, within reason. We don't want to get sunburnt, but some sun exposure is good for us. We're using our body out there in real world ways. We push the wheelbarrow, we pull the hose, we step up and down out of the truck or the trailer or the tack room. We're walking a lot. We're lifting those hay bales again or saddles or whatever. We are moving our bodies in ways that a lot of people don't, and that's great for us. Now, there is a bit of a downside too. As with most things that we do routinely, they tend to come with repetitive movement patterns. So things like even riding, we are in a seated position while we ride. We tend to saddle our horses, mount and dismount from the left side of the horse. Even I intentionally go out of my way to do those things from the other side sometimes, still like 80% of the time, I do it from the left. I mean, it's just the way the world is set up in our barns and everything, right? I also noticed while I was stacking hay that I always grab the bales the same way. I tend to grab the far string with my left hand and the near string with my right hand, and then I kind of bump it up against my thigh or my hip, and it's always the same leg that's tipped forward. And so I'm doing this in a very uneven way, and I bet you that I'm not the only one. Pay attention next time you're stacking hay. I'll bet you that, like me, you're not switching it up. You're using the same side of your body more than the other side. And you have probably long since noticed that you tend to handle your manure fork with the same hand when you're picking out the paddocks, right? Very few of us feel comfortable putting the opposite hand from usual on the top versus down lower on that handle of the manure fork, right? We also slide in and out of the driver's seat of our truck, our tractor, our four-wheeler from the same direction over and over. All of these things are repetitive movement patterns that are not ideal for keeping us strong in a symmetrical sort of way. But all that said, that farm work is great. It keeps us active, and it used to keep us lean and strong. But at some point, this started to change, didn't it? Maybe it was early on, like with pregnancies or young kids or the busy career. Often it happens around 40-ish or a bit later, if we're hitting perimenopause, that's a big one. Most common of all, when we really get into menopause. And regardless of gender, the older we get, the more likely it is that we are going to lose ground, even if we are doing the same riding and farm chores. Why, though? Well, there are a few main reasons for this. One of them is that we are often so busy that we spend less active time than we think we do, and or our food quality goes downhill because we shift in favor of some convenience instead of having the time or making the time to prep more healthy food. But even if that's not the case, it is still natural to lose ground with age. None of us gets out of here alive. And somewhere between our peak around age 18 or early 20s, we are going to be losing our cardiovascular fitness, our muscle mass, our power, our VO2 max. These things will inevitably drop with age no matter what we do, even if we are doing that farm work. So you combine either or both of those factors, the busyness, the lower food quality, the natural declines that come with age, with this. Your body is used to doing the riding and farm chores. You've been doing those same things for years and years, right? I know I have. They don't present a new level of effort or a novel stimulus. So your body has gotten very efficient at doing that work. That specific kind of effort doesn't force your body to change anymore. In fact, it's gotten really good at doing those things so it can burn less calories, it can build less muscle and still be able to do those things. Your body is really, really good at getting efficient and spending less resources on the things that it is accustomed to doing. Now, add to that the fact that not only has our body gotten really efficient at the things it's used to doing, but also losses are going to come with age naturally, and maybe with those lifestyle issues like a questionable diet. So we are losing muscle, right? And as we lose muscle, almost imperceptibly, we start to notice that we're getting weaker. We're fatiguing more easily. And guess what? Our metabolism slows down as muscle decreases because muscle is expensive tissue. Muscle requires a lot of calories. So if you have less of it, your metabolism is going to slow down. So we tend to start putting on some body fat. And then in the case of women, especially when we hit menopause and our hormones change and estrogen is in the tank, that means we are even less inclined to put on muscle. So all these things together mean that we have less muscle, all despite the fact that we continue to be as active as we ever were. So the answer, the solution, is obviously not to keep doing the same thing. We have already determined that doing the same thing ain't working anymore, and it's not going to. In fact, it's only going to get worse with age. So we have to do something different. We have to challenge the body with something new so that it has a reason to change. Now, notice that different does not necessarily mean more. You don't necessarily have to do more, but you do have to do something different. Unfortunately, for us horse people, on the practical front, it likely will mean doing more, even though it wouldn't necessarily have to be, because we have the basics that still need to be done. We still need to ride. We still need to clean the stalls. We still need to stack the hay. So physiologically speaking, you don't necessarily have to do something more. You just have to do something different. But if your baseline activity is non-negotiable, then yes, you are going to have to add something to that baseline activity in order to make the change, because you still have to do the something different. Fortunately, though, it's not too much more if you know exactly what to do. So let's talk about it. We've already said that losing muscle is at the heart of the issue, and that is going to happen as we age, no matter what, even if we keep doing the active things that we have done for decades. So, how do we get that muscle back? How do we hang on to what we have? The most bang for your buck is going to be strength training. How much are we talking about? Even 60 to 90 minutes a week. So like 2 or 3 half-hour sessions, maybe 2 45-minute sessions. That is going to make a big difference if you are doing it right. What do I mean by doing it right? Well, I mean that we're focusing on large functional movements. I mean that we are lifting heavy enough weight. And we'll come back to that because I know that can be scary for a variety of reasons. It also means phasing your workouts over time. You have to change things over time so that your body continues to progress. Remember that eventually your body is going to get efficient at anything that you have been doing for a while. So you need to change it up so that you keep challenging your body. Again, you don't necessarily have to do more, but you do have to do something differently. Also, you need to support this strength training with enough good quality food. You cannot try to starve your body into submission. I teach this in Leaner, Stronger, Rider. Slashing calories and asking your body to do the same work, or maybe even adding a bunch of cardio on top, is only going to force your body to get more efficient and hang on to every calorie it can find because it's trying to save your life. It thinks you're starving. And so your cravings go up. And then when you can't stand it anymore, you slip up, you have the half a pizza and a piece of cake. That seems to go straight to your hips because your body has down-regulated its calorie use and up-regulated storage. Anyway, I'm getting off track, but if you want to learn about all that, I have a 12-week program. It's called Leaner, Stronger, Rider. You can find it on the Sweaty Equestrian website, and it's 12 weeks long. I would love to walk you through all the details of what I'm talking about there and exactly how to apply them. And part of it is what we're supposed to be talking about right now, and that is lifting heavy enough weight. Remember, we're losing ground and gaining fat despite doing the same activities because we are losing muscle. So we need to build muscle. To build muscle, we need a stimulus. We need to give the body a reason to build muscle. And that stimulus has to be heavy lifting. Running isn't going to do it. The elliptical's not going to do it. Yoga's not going to do it. You can get a little benefit from those things, but really what you need to do if you want to get that muscle back, to change your metabolism and change that strength that you're losing, you have to lift heavy. How heavy? Ultimately, we're talking here about traditional strength training. 3 to 6 sets of 5 to 12 reps. The last few reps of each set get very challenging to complete with good form. So I am not talking about Pilates here. Now, I have a lot of good things to say about Pilates. It's definitely a good thing, but it's not going to change your body fat. It's not going to put on a lot of muscle. Same thing goes for circuit training, with those 5 or 10 pound dumbbells where you do dozens and dozens of leg lifts and you get all sweaty and out of breath. And you think you're strength training because you are moving a little bit of weight, but it's not enough to actually give your body a strong muscle building stimulus. What I am talking about is lifting very heavy weights. Again, heavy enough that for the last few reps of a 5 to 12 rep set, you can barely do it with good form. And then in between sets, we're taking 90 seconds to 3 minutes to fully recover so that we can do it again. Very few of us train like that. But when we learn to do it, it is life-changing. But let me go back to the fears around this and the issues that a lot of riders struggle with. Many of us are not ready to start with that heavy of lifting. Most of us have old injuries. All of us have ingrained movement patterns. The vast majority of us have a variety of compensations or mobility issues that are going to get in the way of doing heavy lifting correctly. Now, we've been gutting our way through the farm work a lot of times, but we've been doing it without using our bodies correctly. So in order to strength train as heavy as we need to, in order to get the maximum benefits, we need to not jump straight in and hurt ourselves. Instead, we need to take the time first to build the mobility and the balance and the control in our joints range of motion, for example, that are going to later allow us to lift heavier weights safely. So I'm not saying jump straight into the heavy lifting if your body needs some preparation before that. This is why my Essential Equestrian Fitness program has a very long on-ramp that's optional, and you can drop in at whatever level is appropriate for you. But a lot of riders need to start with much easier versions of the strength training movements and work their way up and do some intentional mobility work and balance work so that they can be prepared for the work that's going to come later. Now, this may sound discouraging if you are willing to accept that you need to lift heavy weights to really change your body. But you can't jump right into that work that really makes a difference because you have to work up to it. That can be discouraging, but remember this, you will still be giving your body a novel stimulus no matter where you start. So you will be doing some good for yourself right away, even if it's not the maximum, most efficacious thing, because you have to prepare for that first. Also, so what if it takes you 4 or 6 or 10 or 12 weeks to get to where you can lift pretty heavy weights? So what? Isn't that better than letting those same 4 or 6 or 10 or 12 weeks go by without preparing yourself to be able to do that really life-changing work? The time is going to pass anyway. So don't be discouraged if you need a long on-ramp. That's okay. Just get on that on-ramp so that eventually you can do the work that is really going to change your body. Otherwise, you're just never going to be able to do it. And you're never going to change your life. And it is life-changing. Unlike the same old, still good for you, but not changing your body, riding and farm chores. A little bit of strength training. Remember, even 60 to 90 minutes a week, starting at your level, that is going to be the novel stimulus that you need to tell your body that it needs to change. It needs to do something differently. It will be one of the biggest keys to losing that body fat, overcoming that weakness or fatigue or pain, and ultimately ensuring that you can ride stronger in a day and longer in your life. Want to get more sweaty? Subscribe to my newsletter at thesweatyequestrian.com/newsletter. And remember, you have what it takes to be a full athletic partner for your horse. Saddle up strong.